Guys, make sure your mic is. All right, it's 6:49. We're going to start our meeting of the 4 Mile Special Service District. Welcome to the Board of Trustees. Welcome to those in the audience. We appreciate you being here. We have item number 2 on our agenda. It's our consent items, which is to approve the minutes for August 16, 2022 board meeting. I think you have those in front of you. Maria changed some of them. So if you need a minute to review that, or if you have had a chance, if there's no changes that you are aware of, I'd like to entertain a motion to read.
Yeah, all motion that we approve the minutes of the August 16th, 2022 board meeting. Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
22 mergers. All right. Item number 3 is a public hearing. This is for the 4 Mile Special Service District Board of Trustees. We will take comments for and against resolution 22-13, which is the Ashland Cove annexation. And it's an annexation of 13 acres of certain real property in the 4 Mile Special Service District. Jenny, do you want to address this?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. So last month, we adopted a resolution accepting the petition for annexation for the Ashland Cove subdivision into the 4 Mile Special Service District. So tonight we are to receive public comment from neighboring properties or affected entities that may be affected by this annexation, give them opportunity. And this is the time to take those public comments, and they are just comments, and there's no response necessary by us. Excuse me, the board.
Thank you. All right, if there's no more questions for city administrator, I need a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to go to public hearing.
Also, a motion and a second on the page.
Aye.
Motion carries. This is for the public hearing is, as you've heard, for and against annexation in the 4 Mile Special Service District. And if you have any comments from the public, you're welcome to come up to the podium. You have 3 minutes, and like I said, it's not an engagement. It's just your chance to say something.
If you want us to go up there, we just have a question.
Here and state your name.
I'm Mike Grange, and so I haven't seen the resolution, just that it had a public comment on or public meeting on it. So I'd like to know the purpose of the annexation and what the 4 Mile District is planning to do and what the property owners want to receive out of it. Does anybody have information on that?
Okay, once again, this is your chance to ask your questions and everything. It's not your we engage back.
Okay.
I know it's a hard concept, but that's at the moment your answers will, your questions being answered at this time.
Okay,
Charles Lynch. Do the utilities and will the utilities be sufficient? And will there be police support to suffice for the homes that are brought in, additional homes? And will there be some additional police support? If not, what are the homes going to do to bring on additional police? Thank you.
Any more comments from the public?
I'm Maxine Range, and I understand Shannon sending about 20 questions. Email listening. She's out now. Did you receive it? How will you respond?
That's a good again. Anything else? If not, I'd like a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll motion that we close the public hearing.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Thank you. Would you like to respond? Yes. Would you like me to respond to the question? Yes.
So the purpose of the 4 Mile Special Service District is to provide secondary water services specifically for the areas annexed into that special service district. So as we're aware, there are areas of the city that are not provided services by Pineview Water District. And the new developments coming in are required to install a secondary water system to the city's standards. That's part of their development. And once that development has been completed and the services are in place, the city will maintain that under the 4 Mile Service Special Service District. The district has been set up to address other utilities, but will not do that at this time. The only service the Special Service District will be providing is for secondary water service to the properties that are annexed into that district. To be clear there. So the only service given to that district is the irrigation and secondary water, and with regard to the sufficient police support, the current police department will respond to any calls in that subdivision. And I'm sorry, I did not receive the questions that were submitted by Shannon Edwards, so I cannot address those comments. If there's some that you remember that you'd like me to clarify, or Justin, our public works director, to clarify, I'm happy to do so. One of the common questions that I think people have been asking is, does this affect them? They're not being annexed unless they were part of that development and requested to be annexed into that district. Outside of that, they will not be.
I think that was one of the questions. I got an email that.
It wasn't to everyone. I'm not sure why she did that, but it wasn't to everyone.
But so I hope it's clear to those that if you received a letter, it's because you are a neighboring property and there are irrigation lines that run through the Bachelor Cove that provide irrigation services to other property owners. That will continue. That will not be affected outside. An opportunity. Water terms during the special service district's timeframe, the city will fill the ponds appropriately and provide those services with pressurized irrigation system.
I have the questions from Shannon, and I will walk over and talk to her. That's okay. Okay, Max, so 50 minutes. Well, you did again. Okay.
All right. We'll make sure Shannon knows those questions or has a response. Should we ask another question? Oh, no, it's closed. You can follow up, and Justin is always available later. Okay. All right, moving on to item number 4, our business items. This is a discussion of possible action to adopt resolution 22-13, which is Bachelor Cove annexation, acting on a petition for annexation of certain real property into the 4 Mile Special Service District. But I need a motion, but I need to have this table in order to allow the 30-day protest period.
Mayor, I'll make a motion. Table resolution 22-13 to allow this 30-day protest period.
I'll second it.
All right, I have a motion and a second. This is a roll call vote. Councilmember Loveland,
Yes.
Councilmember Christian. Oh, I guess trustee Loveland. Trustee Christensen,
Yes.
trustee Weiss,
Yes.
trustee Williams.
Yes.
Voting is unanimous. That resolution will be tabled. Those in the audience, if you have any questions, then that very day your have a chance to protest that.
If we're gonna be directed to you or.
Actually, you're out of order.
Oh,
Okay. It will be to the city. You can come and ask anything in the city. All right. All right. Thank you. Any anything on the board for staff with this meeting? Okay, if not, motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn the, Fort Bob District Special Board of Trustees. Second.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
We adjourned the 4 Mile Special Service District. We will take a break for 5 minutes. We will have a council. Yep. Sorry. Okay.
Everybody's like free to speak up, all right? Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, we don't see this, it's like most kind of. This one, I don't think.
All right, 7 o'clock and it's very fine in here, so I think we'll go ahead and start the meeting. Welcome to Harrisville City Council meeting tonight. Welcome to our council members. Welcome to those in the audience. We appreciate you being here. Have an opening ceremony by Councilmember Christensen.
Everybody please stand. Repeat the pledge of allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful this day that we can be here together in the city. Grateful for those in the audience that have come to talk about the things of our city. Grateful for the opportunity we have to serve in this city, be able to help those things coming forward. And again, thank you. And say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Councilmember Christensen. I'd like to excuse Councilmember Jackson. He had attended to a meeting. Moving on to item number 3, which is our consent items. This is approval of the meeting minutes for August 9th, 2022. Council, have you had a chance to look at those meeting minutes? Any questions or? If not, can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for August 9th, 2022. As presented. I'll second.
I've got a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 4. We have recognition and presentations, and we are going to turn the time over to Assistant Chief Moore.
Good evening, everyone. So a lot of you already met our newest hire, which is Officer Christopher Paradise, and we're going to have him get sworn in today. And we're going to ask Jack, if you go ahead and step on up. And Officer Paradise comes to us from West Mountain. He's bringing some good experience, and we're hoping to put him to some really good use in our city. I think everybody's going to be really surprised by the quality of work that he's going to be bringing to us, and that everybody's just going to be really happy with the kind of officer we're bringing in. Paradise.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support and obey and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Utah,
the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge the duties
and I will discharge the duties
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Then Chief Jackson and Sergeant Davis were both in training. Sergeant Davis is at Land Security Leadership Academy in Georgia right now.
Jackie. Sorry, stay ready.
And Chief Bolton is at the TAC conference in St. Louis, so I think he'd rather be in Georgia than Sergeant Davis, because that's a really good training program. And Sergeant Davis is one of the finds that we've had in our department. She's going on 8 years here, so in our department, that's a rarity. But we keep finding ourselves getting some really good officers coming up, and it's been a long time coming. So I've got Sergeant Taylor and Officer Paradise here, and I think they're a really good example of the kind of officers you're going to see working in our city from here on out. Not that we've had bad officers in the past, but I think with the things that are changing, you know, not just in what we're doing in the city, but the mandates that are coming down on officers on the federal level, changing how we're doing business. We're just getting better officers. There's just nothing to say about that. So these guys are just really good examples of the quality of people that we're getting here. So I'd like to thank you for all the stuff you're doing for us as a city and as the council. So it makes my job a lot easier, you know, the chiefs too. So we really appreciate that. But something even rarer to come up, and that's Jackie Van Meter is here 20 years. So that's just really awesome. And we got this from the folks downstairs. But I actually put something together that I believe is very true. So I'm just gonna read this because I don't have it memorized. Excuse me. So I started full-time with Harrisville in November of 2008. And at that time, Jackie was already here and had clearly become an integral employee, not only for the police department, but the city in general. As time passed, I noted just how involved Jackie really was. That she was just not the chief's administrative assistant and the records manager, but an advocate for her officers, often helping them with reports and keeping them organized far outside of the 5 cabinets in her office. I often watched that Jackie helped with court, city council meetings, and the day-to-day activities of the city office, often doing the job of more than one person. As I progressed in my career with Harrisville, I watched as Jackie kept to her standards and provided the city with outstanding service. It was one of those investigations that I actually saw just how far Jackie goes in looking out for our city and her officers. Not only does Jackie do a fantastic job gathering, filing records for the police department, she goes out of her way looking at cases and often links cases and suspects together, furthering our investigations. And her efforts not only help the police department to function more efficiently, but has had a direct effect aiding in successful prosecutions. If you think about it, this is extraordinary, as Jackie was tasked with one job, but several as she works as the chief's administrative assistant, the police department records manager, the alternate department TAC, and an all-around employee for the city, helping with all of the undocumented day-to-day work that keeps the city running. It is because of employees like Jackie, with their dedication and steadfast resolve to perform at a superior level, that the city continues to function. As I look around, I see fellow employees that I recognize that have that same dedication that Jackie has shown in her years of service to Harrisville City. It's because of employees like Jackie that we continue to recruit new employees that will carry on our commitment to excellence and provide Harrisville residents with outstanding services. On behalf of the police department and Chief Wilson, I want to thank Jackie for 20 years of service and let her know that she is highly valued for the police department and the city of Harrisville's family. Thank you.
Not gonna do this. But thank you, I appreciate that so much.
Will you get your picture taken with Dennis, please? You don't want to ruin this.
We have- Yeah. Yeah, here.
Perfect. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Jackie. I know you don't like to be in the limelight, because really appreciate you. People want to.
Have any other questions for me? Or
Is there anything else I needed? No, thank you very much. We appreciate your support all the time. Thank you for being here.
I'll have more for you next week.
All right, that's great.
These guys gotta go back to work, so.
All right. This is all. I have to tell you with that officer, we are now up to 10. Last year, at this time, I think we were down to 7 officers and they were looking. I done shifts and we didn't know quite what to do. We were worried about how the city was being covered and now we're up to 10 again, and we have some really wonderful police officers. We've always had good people here, but I'm really proud to be associated with them here and have great leadership. The longevity is starting to show. Okay, moving on, item number 6. This is a public hearing.
So today's public hearing is held to receive input from the public with respect to the issuance of general obligation bonds and the potential economic impact that the project for which the bonds pay all or part of the cost will have on the private sector. So I'm going to turn the time over to Jennie Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. Council members, I just want to draw your attention that we have our own consultant, Marcus Keller, on Zoom with us tonight, so he is available for any questions that you might have as well. In accordance with Utah State Code 11-14-318, this is the time for a public hearing to be held to receive input on the general obligation bond for recreation community center and park facilities. The background on this is on August 16th of 2022, the council adopted a resolution providing for a bond convention to be held on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022, for the purpose of submitting to the qualified electors of the city the question of the issuance of general obligation bonds in an amount not to exceed $6 million. The bond revenue will help finance the building of a recreation community center, as well as other park facilities as part of the 750 West Municipal Complex concept plans. The impact of the issuance of the general obligation bonds is approximately $105.66 per year on a $320,000 primary residence and approximately $192.13 per year on a business having the same value. The bond election will be administered by absentee ballot, and a voter information pamphlet will be sent prior to the election.
Thank you. Marcus, would you like to say anything?
No, I think just as I kind of talked to Jenny about this, this is just a time for the city council to be able to receive the feedback from the public and to be able to take that information and determine from that point on the next steps.
All right, thank you. All right, with that, we need a motion to open the public hearing.
Almost, then we open a public hearing.
Awesome. Got a motion and a second, all in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries. So the subject that we are on is the general obligation bond. You have a chance to come to the podium. You have, please state your name, and you have 3 minutes. And once again, it's not a dialogue. You will just express your concern, and we'll take those. Okay, so we'll open that up now. The podium is open.
I actually prepared comments and it may exceed 3 minutes. And you're either gonna hear it from me or from my wife, total 6 minutes. So do you want to hear from one or two? Hey. I'll start. I believe that the members of, I believe that members of our city as council members and mayor are extremely brave to present this proposal to the citizens of Harrisville, or they're very much out of contact with the wishes and desires of the city, of the residents of our city. The council members passed a property tax increase which more than doubled the taxes we pay to Harrisville City. Other public entities have also increased the taxes, but none were as much as Harrisville City. This proposed bond would add an additional increase above and beyond, which is already been approved by the council sitting in front of this audience. The resolution 22-20 states, whereas there is a need of raising money for the purpose of acquiring and construction a recreational facility. This may indeed be the purpose of the proposed bond election, but is there actually a need for the proposed, is there actually a need for the proposed project? Should we not first find out what the needs are in our city before we start funding for a project, which we may not need or even want? Attempting to generate funds for a project before it has been even needed or even desirable is a dangerous precedent for its city leaders to be taking. Even if there's a want of the proposed project, it seems to be an extremely high cost to citizens of our community for a want versus a need. The construction of these facilities will come with an increase in operation and maintenance costs. We have just recently, in the past few weeks, been given a tax increase to cover costs for our existing facilities and maintenance. It makes sense that if an additional tax increase will be needed to cover the cost of operation maintenance for this new $6 million project. These operation and maintenance costs cannot be paid for with this bond, and thus additional tax increases will be needed in the future. This is the information about the true costs should be shared with the public. Detailed information has not been made available before this meeting to help us as citizens understand the project. I personally have come to the city office to try and understand what you have proposed. The first time was last week, prior to the deadline for the written comments, and all I received was a copy of the resolution, which gave no detailed information about the project. Yesterday, I came to see again and was given some additional information, but again, the information was not specific to this proposed project. The information given was a project cost summary for a project including City Hall, administrative office, police station, recreational and community center, public works facility, park facilities, and landscaping and site work and utilities. I was told that the bond was to include the cost shown for the recreation and community center and park.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And park facilities and landscaping for a total of $5,886,400. The remaining to meet the $6 million with bond costs and other associated costs. As an engineer, I worked in local government for almost 30 years. The estimate given is not bad, but it does not include the site works and utilities. The proposed project will not be of much use if water, sewer, road, and other utilities are not brought to the site. The estimate for these costs is shown at $2,749,312. There may not be a need for the total additional amount, but in my professional opinion, there will be a significant portion of site work and utilities that will be needed, which is not included in the project cost. The resolution, section 11, indicates that officers and employees of the cities are authorized to direct and to prepare and submit to the election officer an argument and rebuttal in favor of the ballot proposition. The resolution does not indicate how arguments and rebuttals against the ballot proposition will be handled. I was first told by the city recorder that since the city had received one written comment, that comment would be used as the argument against. After additional discussion, I believe the staff is now willing to include arguments against from this meeting. You as a city council will need to decide how you will fulfill the need for the arguments against, and I encourage you to accept citizen input for tonight. I believe this hearing process has been corrupted already because of the lack of information available to the public prior to the deadline for written arguments and continuing to this meeting tonight. If others have tried to obtain information have met the disappointing lack of specific information that has been available, it seems it would be illegal to move forward because of the lack of the open disclosure. If this is not illegal according to the letter of the law, it definitely does not meet the spirit of the law for disclosure. This bond proposal election does not need to move forward to an election. I believe there is significant opposition to the proposal, and those who voted in favor of the resolution need to withdraw their support and stop this nonsense.
Thank you for your comments. Yes.
Roger Schuman from 1870 North 750 West. I agree with the Christensen just said regarding the majority of the things that they talked about. I just came from a church meeting where I'm being trained on how to be self-reliant, or how to help members become self-reliant. You know, this recreation complex, I don't need to pay for to go work out. And my whole business life, I've been in business, the business world, business management for almost 40 years. When we have to raise $6 million, we have to earn it. Not just come by and pass the tax bill and get 167% tax increase. So pass a bond, we're gonna force us as residents to pay over $100. Well, actually, for me, it would probably be, I don't know, somewhere around $300 a year. And I'm not interested in paying for a recreation complex. I'm not sure where we got all the feedback where Harrisville needed a recreation complex. I'm very much aware of what goes on in North Ogden City with a pool that they can't pay for. You know, we're gonna have a recreation complex that we can't pay for here, that we're gonna have to be taxed even more heavily. So that we can support a very select group of people that are gonna go use the recreation complex. I don't know that it's a majority rule of how we're gonna decide we're gonna spend $6 million to build this place, or but it's ironic. And one other thing I'll comment real quick on this. In business, we go about building buildings that are economically feasible for what we can afford. If you take buildings that normal municipalities do because you get tax dollars, or you pass a bond, you build some elaborate thing that doesn't necessarily need to be built. And I'm not in favor of it. I mean, I would hope that they would vote put something through the word, all the public vote on it, not just try to pass a bond out to pay for $6 million building that's nothing but a money drain on the city and all the residents. So, and I'm well aware of my burden I already get to pay Harrisville City over $700 this next year. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Greg Blitz, live over at 325 Concord Drive here. First, I'm gonna say I object to this bond wholeheartedly. For one, with the tax increase that's gonna happen with it, after we just got hit with this huge property tax increase. That from my understanding, a lot of people did not like to begin with, was still passed. Two, where does it say that the city has to provide a recreational facility for its residents? I don't see a need for this. I remember several years ago, they tore the playground equipment out of the park over here, and we couldn't afford to replace it. So we're gonna build a large recreation facility. If we don't have money to maintain our playground, then how are you gonna get money to maintain this recreation facility without an additional tax increase somewhere? I think it's a bad move on the city's council to bring this up at this time, especially after I mentioned the big property tax we just got hit with. If there is a need for a recreational facility, then it should be a pay-for-use type facility. Those members that feel they need this, let them pay to use it, and their payments can pay for the facility. Don't put the on the backs of the residents of all the Harrisville City residents that probably will not use this at all. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Kathleen Hopwash. I live at 1149 North, 100 East, Harrisville, Utah. And I actually come to educate you guys a little bit, because I know each and every one of you, thank you, by the way, for bringing up the Constitution. And I know each one of you, after listening to this, have all taken an oath of the Constitution. Have not? I know you're going to answer me on that. So I'm going to let you know a little bit about the Constitution. First of all, we elected you. We do have the right to remove you from office if you do not honor and sustain and uphold the Constitution which you took an oath to. Part of that, part of our rights as an individual, is owning property. I'm going to read this directly from Promises of the Constitution. If God commanded that we subdue the earth and have dominion over it. We do that when we own and manage property. This right to obtain and keep personal property, such as personal effects, etc., depend on its use for a person's security is important to happiness and prosperity. It is a God-given right. I can go on to this further. God's plan that each of us work to provide for ourselves is also his plan that we keep what we earn. Despite governments may not always seize our property, but they do so by property taxes, which you guys have just done. And it's just boost mine up, but I have to figure out how to come up with extra money in November. Because I have just gone up $1,000 from what I owed last year from property taxes, not only from you guys, at 166%, which is abominable. It says these examples of excessive control shackle our right to own and use property. We know government is necessary, but it must be limited. That means fiscal spending must be limited. In the times that we're in right now, we need to tighten, just like we have had to tighten our belts, you as a city need to tighten your belts. I agree with the Christian Center and with everything that has been said here. I am not for this. I did not ask for a recreation center. I know we can't even keep the splash pad open over here. I've not been able to take my grandkids to it for the last 2 years because of maintenance issues or whatever. I won't use the recreation center. I wasn't asked about it. And I don't know if you guys know anything about HB 446, which, by the way, I did not receive a letter saying in 18 bond that taxes were going to be raised. That is in HB 446. That was not followed in the taxation. So I'm here to just remind you that you took an oath of the Constitution. You are liable to us as citizens, and if you do not follow that oath, we do have a right to remove you from office as per the Constitution. Thank you.
I'm Christine Pope. I'm at 2416 North 750 West. I'm gonna agree with everything that everyone else has said after the big tax increase to ask for a bond election to build a rec center. The timing seems really bad. I don't understand what the need for the rec center is. I don't know what's gonna be included in the rec center. I don't know what facilities are going to be there. When I want to use a gym, I go down to Far West and use their rec center, or I go to the gym on DEO and use it. I would considerably rather pay their entrance fee one time. Or at each time I go, then they make a payment for the rest of my life, or however many years it takes to pay this bond off. It makes a lot more sense. Thank you. Oh, and can I add? I was not aware that public comment in this meeting was not to be included in public record as statement for or against this. I agree that it should be. If not, I don't know what the reason for a public hearing is. Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Mike Shintle. Live at, I'm new. Here. Let's see, it's 1334 North 150 East. I'm a retired police officer from California. One of the reasons I moved up here was the extremely high assessments that were added to our property taxes in California. More than of my taxes, more than 50% of it was assessments from bonds and other things that have been passed. And I think presents a legacy of asking for more money whenever you can, and it's just added in as part of the special assessment. So I hope that the city would address that real need. You know, do we need what do you call it, community center, rec center, when there are enough other activities around and available? And I know you can't answer this, but I would hope someplace to address what happens, what kind of plans have you made if you really want to have this center and the bond doesn't pass? Is it just going to, oh, okay, it dies. That's fine.
But if you really want the rec center, what are you gonna do? If money doesn't come from the bond?
Kevin cares. I wish I'd written something. I do appreciate Christensen's time and effort. I would say to the council, whatever wisdom that you figured you had in the previous increase, you kind of lost it on me with this additional sense of going out and spending on something that is really not necessary. And again, the costs that are associated with that. I would pose a question to the council. Has that been a consideration as to the operating costs and any consideration to the costs that other cities have taken on as they've had these and the long time burden that has been there? I know over the years, every city complex has had one, swimming pool, the whole big thing, but my basic knowledge of that is they wish they could have sold it, and they would be, some of these places would be happy if you want to buy their place, they'd sell it to you and you can take it. The operating costs are just incredible to think that you're gonna then, where you're gonna get it, you're not gonna get it in operating costs. You're not going to get it in operating costs. For sure, if you couldn't justify it, that you could absolutely guarantee that, then there's no reason to even consider it. Again, I'm flabbergasted that the council would even think about doing this. I'm sorry, I'm not in support of it.
Hello, my name is Greg Montgomery, 231 Larson Way. And maybe I have a little bit different approach. I understand that why you're doing this, understand the concerns there. My feelings are, first of all, I don't know that you've really given what you're proposing. When I looked at the information, it's all about a rec center of 20,000 square feet. And mainly a gym use. Well, a gym, a regulation high school basketball court with maybe a 30-foot area for bleachers and that, it's gonna be about 9,000 square feet. And then it's just tonight, I learned that this is not just the gym to take care of the youth leagues and all that are having hard times, which is what the information I received last week was all about. So now I understand why another 10 to 12,000 square feet are being talked about. Because it's also talking about replacing this building and other things to move it up over to 750, which where it's not the information the building wants to be. So I have a concern about that because we do have a facility, we do have facilities through the city of Harrisville. And much, I think, concern that a lot of people have is we can't take care of the facilities we have. We're moving things, work goes in to create a ball field, and last fall, and then the ball field's taken out this spring. It seems like the things we do are not proactive to encourage better use of our facilities. They're saying, well, we got this facility, let's let it go down, let's build a new one and defer our maintenance to new construction. And so I'm concerned about how that approach is being taken, because I think a lot of citizens people say we do need some better recreation things, but we need to take care of and be forward thinking of the things we have already, rather than burden ourselves with additional things. But I do appreciate the things you're going through to do this. These are all things that within your purview to look at, to consider what the citizens are looking for and what you feel are in the best interest of the city. But I do think a lot of things are premature. Curtis talked about some things that take place in engineering generally, and Roger also. Generally, you have some concept right put together to give a cost estimate. In my understanding, there are no drawings, not even a concept plan say, where's the $6 million coming from in terms of that amount? What does it really come? Because there's no concept to say what is it we're trying to build. So I have those concerns. Maybe it's premature, maybe it's not enough information, but I think other things need to be explored, especially are there other partnerships out there that we need to try to meet the needs. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Wayne Barrow. I live on 1785 North, 750 West. Been to a lot of the meetings that we've had in the past, and it little complex about the whole project that you're putting together on 750. Because we start with one small amount, and it's gonna escalate into a large amount, which is gonna be the parks, or the maintenance building, the rec center, all involved, what you're gonna have there, and the municipal building, the police department. And I don't know what, if the fire station is gonna materialize on that piece of ground or whatever. And I don't know why the city leaders don't put together the whole project and put it out to the people to know exactly what it's gonna look like. I know I've seen the little plaque that you gave me at one of the meetings, but I still don't have any concept of what all that's gonna cost. 5 million for the maintenance building, 6 million for the gym. I don't know, I've never heard about the other amount for the city building and the police department. I've never heard anything about the, but I'm just imagining 10, 15 or more $1 million to put into this, and we're going to sell whatever we're going to sell to accommodate those items, but nobody's ever said anything about those items. And I don't know how the public is going to respond to that when they really know what's going on. I look at the meeting tonight, I can't believe that we don't have a PAC meeting to ask you questions or these comments. All these comments that's been brought up for some things that I have in the back of my mind that is not relevant. I have the recreation department head name why he's not here and tell us how many kids are going to be playing ball with these things. I've been doing that for my whole life.
I'm the last one to speak. My name is Melissa Ferguson. I live on 1306 North Highway 89. I am against building this rec center. I think the city is going in the wrong direction, spending more money than they have all at once, raising our taxes. It's going to force, I know we personally need looking elsewhere to move to a different city because you're heading in the wrong direction, spending more than you have. Thank you. Thank you. Everyone has had a chance to speak. Close, we're ready to have a motion to close. One last chance. All right. We have a motion to close.
Mayor, did you check online to see if any?
I did not, thank you. Are there any comments online that I should take? All right, Marcus, thank you. I don't think that anyone wants to speak, but I appreciate that. All right, we're doing that.
Motion to close the public hearing. Second.
I have a motion in a second. I need a roll call on that. Not on the motion. No. All right, so I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Right, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to our business items, item number 7. This is a discussion, possible action to adopt Harrisville Resolution 22-17, which is amending the leave of absence policy. Jenny.
Thank you, Mayor. We can go ahead and share screen for those that are joining online. In your packet, there was a memo regarding resolution 22-17 leaves of absence policy amendment. What this resolution does is the following proposals are included in this resolution. The vacation leave has been amended to allow for vacation accrual at an earlier interval, rather than employees having 5-year increments between their accrual rates. The proposed rates are consistent with the 5-year accrual rates, that they would be earning them at 2.5-year mark and 7.5-year mark and 12.5-year mark rather than the 5, 10, and 15. The vacation limits have also been modified to align with the proposed new accrual rates. The holiday leave has been defined more accurately for the Christmas break by excluding the weekends between Christmas Day and New Year's Day. And the holiday pay rate has been amended to address the shifts. Many of the city employees that work more than an 8-hour shift. The sick leave has been amended to allow for sick leave use during the employee's probationary period, as long as they receive department head authorization to use that. And the exchange of sick leave has been amended to align with the fiscal year rather than the calendar year, so that we can implement a better budgeting practice for employees that qualify for that sick leave exchange program.
Thank you. Council, you had a chance to read this and any questions for admin?
I do have a question, Jenny. So they're getting the same amount of accrual, they're just getting it in the short intervals. Is that how I understand?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have implemented at the halfway point for each of those accrual periods with the 3.5-year mark, they would get half of what they would have been eligible for a 5-year. We're trying to give a little more to the employees that doesn't cost the city anything additionally, but they can
It's getting
get it a little sooner, yeah, instead of having to work or wait that 5-year period, it also helps. That's how the work-life balance for our employees to make sure that they're mentally healthy.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, could I have a motion? Please?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 22-17 and leave of absence policy.
Second.
I have a motion in a second. This is when I need a roll call. Councilmember Loveland.
Yes.
Councilmember Christian.
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item B, this is a discussion possible action to adopt Harrisville Resolution 22-21, which is amending the Harrisville employee performance evaluations of the city personnel policies and procedures. Jennie Knight again.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm actually going to turn the time over to our city treasurer, Jill Hunt, for her memo and also her review evaluation forms, because she was the creator of many of these with the assistance of Sergeant Taylor in the police department, who initially created a new evaluation form for our police department, and we implemented that into admin and public works and parks department as well.
Okay, so the goal in mind was to change our evaluations to be more job specific. So Sergeant Taylor was able to go through the police department and gear it really towards what the police department does. Because the police department doesn't do the same thing as the office girls or public works or the parks. So that was the biggest idea, is to make sure the parks and the public works have theirs geared to what they specifically do with their maintenance, the OSHA, safety, and
with the police department, their investigations, their citations, the reports. And as the city staff within this building is keeping the records accurate, making sure that we help the residents as they come in and have that welcoming demeanor and things like that. That's why we propose that change.
Any questions?
I looked over, I was really impressed. So.
I know that the department has run happy with the last forms that you had to work with. They were not user friendly on either end, so this was needed and appreciated. And kudos to Sergeant Taylor for doing this and leading by example, right? Okay. I need a motion to approve in order to.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 20-21, amending the Harrisville Flood Performance Evaluations.
Can you say 22?
Sorry, 22. 22-1.
I'll second.
Got a motion in a second. I do need a roll call on this also. Councilmember Levin,
Yes.
Councilmember Christian,
Yes.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Thank you. Right, that is the last of our business items. We're moving on to number 8, our private comments. This is the chance for you to approach the microphone and have 3 minutes for anything else that's concerning the city. Come forward again, state your name. No dialogue again, but we will try and address this later.
So Greg Montgomery, 231 Larson Lane. And I just had a question, but like I said, there's no dialogue. My concern is I wonder what is the time frame if fifth wheel to be parked on the street. We've got a fifth wheel to the west of us, been there for 2 months, hasn't moved at all. And I cannot see traffic coming out. I've got a 2-second window from the time I see a car to the time it comes to my driveway. And so I can't see traffic as I used to be able to see it. And I understand having it there while you unload the stuff for that, but it's been there 2 months and hasn't moved. I didn't know whether, I know in the wintertime, you can't have things parked on the street, but I didn't know the regulations about having not, unless it doesn't have a motor, it doesn't move. How long can it stay in one position on the street? I know in the jurisdiction I used to work for, you had 48 hours. I didn't know what the situation is now, but it does create concern. Time limit on my seat, I see a vehicle goes right to my driveway. And speed limit posted 45 or 50 miles an hour, 2 seconds is not a lot of time to be able to react to try to get on the driveway. So that's a concern I have.
Thank you.
Rick West Street, 325 West Concord Drive. I'd just like to mention, what is the ordinance or whatever on vehicles that are not currently registered? Our neighborhood is turning into a junkyard. All these vehicles parked on people's property, they're tagged 10, 12 years old. The people behind me, it is a junkyard. They have motorhomes parked everywhere. Cars parked in the yard, and it doesn't seem like the city enforces any ordinances unless somebody makes a complaint, which is wrong. I actually had to call him to come talk to the neighbor behind me. He did move his cars, but the son beside him still has the junkyard parked there. I would like to see the city start tackling all these unregistered vehicles that are parked all over the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Roger Schuman again from 1870 North 750 West. going on almost 2 years ago, I started the complaint process with my neighbor, and it's pleased to announce that there has been some change. I'm not sure if that was due to what the city's doing or what's going on there, but there's still plenty of large trucks in there. Depends on the day. Depends, like sometimes there's, I don't know if they go out on the truck, out on the road, and all of a sudden you end up with 4 or 5 semis all over the front yard. There's still people parking all over the grass. There's box trucks on the grass and every other area. It surely doesn't look like a residential zone. So we still have more work to do there. You're continuing to work on it. I'm not sure if it's where it's at, but it's it has gotten a little bit better. So thanks for that.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Chris Pope again. I just had a couple of comments. The leave policy that was discussed. I went through the packet that I was able to get online via the email that came from the state. The sick leave accrual rate is not stated in that. The vacation leave accrual rate is, but the sick leave is not, and I wondered if it should be included. I took note of the fact that city employees get more paid holidays than federal government employees do, and probably state government employees as well. The city talks about needing to increase their revenue to fund all of the stuff that the city does. That's a lot of paid holidays for the city's employees. And I also talked about the fact that city employees can cash out their unused sick leave when they reach a balance of 40 hours or more. That to me is unheard of. And I just wanted to make note of that. Thank you. Anyone else?
Sure.
All right.
That down here where I can get down. Just to follow up to the previous hearing, the comments, the questions I have is how the arguments against are going to be given. Who is going to prepare that? And since there's nothing directed in the resolution, I assume it's going to be up to you guys to pick somebody to do it or find some way to do that. Or give some direction to somebody else. But I'm just curious how that's going to take place. It is time sensitive. It has to be done fairly quick.
Hi again. My name is Catherine Bosch, 1149 North 100 East, almost forgot where I live. I am just here to ask whatever happened to Harrisville Days. That is something I feel that brought our city together through parades and everything like that. And there wasn't one last year. And again, there wasn't one this year. So what happened? Is it ever going to come back or not?
Any other comments? Okay, we're gonna close our public comments. I'm gonna let Jenny and Rick hold this. So we'll just go ahead and order received, if that's okay, I'm seeing this public comment. As far as the time frame on parking and recreational vehicles on the city streets, I'm gonna defer to Assistant Chief Moore on this one. You off the top of your head without looking at the code, is it 24 or 48 hours? I know there's a time frame.
It is 0.
Zero.
We allow parking and RVs and trailers as long as you're actually loading and unloading. We understand that people often need more time to flowers, get ready for a trip and stuff like that. So really trying to give that opportunity. We tag vehicles, they move, they come back, the process for us starts all over again. So it's not a one strike, two strike, three strikes route. They move the vehicle and our clock starts all over again. I think that's the only fair way we can do it to make sure that when we are presenting our paperwork, we're going to show a vehicle or provide a citation, that we have checked all of our boxes. We have a few problems here and there with it. We try to do as good a job as we can, but our biggest problem is the consistency of being able to just tag the vehicle and get it for 3 consecutive days in a row before we try to take additional action. Because the goal with the enforcement is compliance, not issuing a citation. We have people tell us all the time that they want government telling them what to do with their property, but we can't let people just have no look at the regulations. So our goal is enforcement for education, and then people refuse to do that, then we will go through and try to take additional action. And that can be quite frustrating for some of the residents that watch as people continually violate this, but the idea is still enforcement through education rather than just writing citation or something. If it comes to that, we are willing to do that. We try to get a resident compliance rather than just getting them the citation or the Harrisville nuisance vehicle ordinance is pretty specific. It follows state statute, and it's actually pretty easy for us to get to a nuisance vehicle status. But we don't want to go there because it gives us a lot of leverage just to go in and just keep moving vehicles, and then we're going to have this group of people that are happy saying, "We got to please take too aggressive and start." Again, I think we need to default back on enforcement with compliance. When that does not work, then I'm more than willing to let's go make it tough for somebody to refuse to want to listen and take the action. If you have issues with stuff like that you're seeing, we have our police at City of Harrisville, just to extend that into us. Or we can allow people to take online for a code violation. But, you know, we'll get to it when we can. We don't always have it with staff here all the time, so we'll stand when we can. And like I said, it's for the greatest. That help?
Thank you, and I'd just like to piggyback on what Assistant Chief Moore was saying as far as our code enforcement. I think most of you are aware that we are training to do code enforcement official that's taking on those responsibilities is doing very well with that. Certain cases are moving forward into our justice court for screening by our prosecutor when we are at that point and level of our code enforcement cases. So we are making improvements in that. With regard to the leave policy updates, the vacation rate was included in the resolution, but not the sick leave because the sick leave was not amended. It's already in our policy that's available on our website. There were no amendments being made to those accrual rates for the sick leave. So that's why it's not in the resolution. And the cash out related to sick leave is an employee is only eligible for that if they have maintained not utilizing any sick leave in a 365-day period. So they're not eligible just when they bank 40 hours of sick leave. They're only eligible if they have utilized a sick day in that calendar year. With this year calendar year. And with regard to the arguments against the bond, we are following the state law requirements for when we are receiving an argument for and against, and so we need to follow that. That's the state law.
What is?
So approximately the date for receiving the arguments for and against are for the date of September 9th at 5 p.m. That was on the website.
Yes, but we have the comments tonight. Are they not going to be considered in that?
The comments received tonight will be considered in that.
And who's going to take care of it?
Well, actually, now you're engaging in dialogue.
Yeah, I know, but,
I'm not gonna allow that for this.
but I think it's appropriate to answer the question.
I understand. I actually let her answer the question when I didn't have to. So I think you're asking for questions that I'll give an answer on. Yeah, not tonight, not at this moment. Because it's out of order.
Said that, I just don't think it's financial.
All right, now council follow up. Anything from Grover? Is anything tonight? Okay. Steve? Jenny?
No.
What?
Oh, I do have one thing.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that I contacted Justin and Chief Wilson a couple weeks ago about a complaint from a citizen over by Orion with car parking and not response to. And they took care of it in a matter of just 2 or 3 days. So citizen was very happy and I was very pleased with it. Taking care of it. Appreciate you guys taking care of that.
Thank you. All right, we'll move from here into, oh, I'm sorry,
Mayor, we received a comment online that we missed during our public comment. We did come in at the time frame that we were holding up the comments. If you don't mind. Okay, all right. The question is there a place that we can report solicitors who come to our doors without getting a license with the city? Our neighborhood in particular are constantly licensed solicitors. No one is ever wearing a badge. I think this is a safety issue as well as a lost opportunity for the city. About how this is encouraged to be handled. Residents are welcome to call a non-emergency dispatch number when they have been in contact with a solicitor that they suspect does not have a solicitor's license within the city. Jill regulates the solicitor's licenses within the city, and she's typically very aware of any business that has a solicitor's license. And so she's working with our police department to make sure that we are educating those solicitors. We do have, it is a common occurrence to have the solicitors not realize they've entered the boundaries of Harrisville because of our borders and boundaries with other cities. It's hopefully that's Thank you.
all right. We're going to close this meeting and we're going to move into a closed executive session. So I need a motion to close the public meeting and enter into a closed executive session.
I'll make the motion that we close the public meeting and move it into the executive session.
Motion and second, all in favor? We need to excuse you at this time and thank you for attending.
I didn't mean harm.
I understand.
I just don't feel like.